Hello everyone. Today we will learn regarding continuous portion of the terminology. In last lecture we have discussed regarding position, anatomical position, anatomical position, fundamental position, lithotomy position, planes, frontal, coronal, transverse, as well as anatomical terms, medial, lateral, superficial, deep, etc. Today we will discuss regarding term used to describe the joint movements. The movements of the body occur at various joints. These movements are described in relation to axis and plane which are perpendicular to each other. Flexion and extension. In flexion, there is a decrease in the angle between two articulating bone, and extension between increasing the angle between two articulating bone. Here in this diagram you can see flexion and extension. In this diagram you can see flexion and extension of hip joint. In this diagram you can see flexion and extension of knee joint. Now hyperextension. What is hyperextension? Occurs when a part of the body is extended beyond the anatomical position so that the angle of the joint is greater than 180 degree. Example, when bending the head backwards. Another example, straight fingers molding backward. In short, hyperextension, angle of the joint is greater than 180 degree. Abduction, movement of limb away from the midline of the body. Midline, mid-sagittal plane, median plane we have discussed, which divides the body into two equal part, to half of the body. Abduction, movement of the limb towards the midline of the body. In this diagram you can see abduction of the hand, adduction of the hand, abduction of the leg, adduction of the leg. In case of fingers and toes, the term abduction is applied for spreading of this structure, whereas the term adduction for the approximating this structure. Adduction, bring closer to the axis of the finger. Abduction, spreading of the finger. This is flexion and extension of the thumb, decrease in the angle of thumb and palm, as well as during the extension of the thumb. This is abduction and adduction of the thumb. Thumb bring close to the index finger, that is adduction, and bring away to from the index finger, that is abduction of the thumb. Now opposition of thumb, that is mudra position. In this diagram you can see dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. This is the diagram of flexion and extension of finger. Bending downwards of the finger, that is flexion, and opposite to it, that is extension of the finger. Now regarding rotation. Medial rotation. An inward rotation results when the anterior surface of the part faces medially. An outward rotation when the anterior surface of the part faces laterally. You have to remember this anterior surface of the part faces medially. In lateral rotation, anterior surface of the part faces laterally. And inward and outward rotation, by this way you can remember it. This is medial rotation. Inward rotation, when the anterior surface of the part faces medially. Lateral rotation, outward rotation, when the anterior surface of the part faces laterally. Circumduction, okay, a combination of the flexion, extension, adduction, abduction in rotation, in which distal end of the part of the body moves in a circle. Example, circular movement of the hand. Supination, rotation of the forearm and hand laterally from the mid-prone position around longitudinal axis so that the palm of the hand faces anteriorly. This diagram shows the circumduction example during bowling action. Now supination, rotation of forearm and hand laterally from the mid-prone position around the longitudinal axis so that the palm of the hand faces anteriorly. Supination and pronation. Rotation in first diagram, supination, rotation of the forearm so that the palm faces anteriorly. Opposite, palm faces posteriorly, that is pronation. Rotation of the forearm and hand medially from the mid-prone position so that around longitudinal axis so that the palm of the hand faces posteriorly. Inversion, movement of the sole of the foot in which the sole faces inwards or medially. Eversion, movement of the sole of the foot in which the sole faces outward or laterally. This diagram shows inversion of the sole of the foot when the sole of the foot faces medially. This is eversion, sole of the foot faces laterally. Now protraction, traction, when the lower jaw slides forwards in its socket in the temporal bone of the skull. Okay, now when lower jaw slides forward in its first diagram, so protraction, lower jaw slides forwards in the TMJ, as well as lower jaw slides backwards in temporal bone of the skull, that is retraction. When a lower jaw slides backwards in its socket in the temporal bone of the skull, that is retraction. Okay. Elevation, movement in which a part of the body is lifted upwards. For example, elevation of the mandible to close the mouth. Okay. Second, elevating scapula to shrug the shoulder. Depression, movement opposite to it. It means depressing movement. In this diagram, you can see elevation of the mandible and depression of the mandible. Thank you.